Hello, dear students. In today's lab, we will be talking about the respiratory system. The respiratory system is a highly specialized organ system responsible for gas exchange, allowing oxygen to enter the blood and carbon dioxide to be removed. From a histological perspective, the structure is carefully adapted to support air conduction, filtration, and efficient diffusion. The component of the respiratory system, we have the nasal cavity, which is the first opening. Then we have the pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchioles, and lung. We will go step by step the histological of each organ. We have the conducting portion and respiratory portion. The conducting portion, which includes nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles. They are mostly pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, become simple cuboidal in bronchioles. The cells that are present are goblet cell, which for mucus secretion, ciliated cells, basal cell, and club cells. While the structure of respiratory portion includes respiratory bronchioles, alveolar duct, and alveoli. The type 1 pneumocyte, which is simple squamous cell, it's very thin and ideal for gas exchange in the alveoli. The type 2 pneumocytes, it's cuboidal cells, which secrete surfactant, reduce surface tension. The alveolar macrophage, they are for defense and remove particles and microbes. Capillaries are extremely close to alveoli, form blood-air barrier. Respiratory bronchioles, they are lined by simple cuboidal epithelium. Few cilia may still be present, and it contains club cells, and walls are interrupted by alveoli. They are used for transition zone between conducting and respiratory portion. The second one, alveolar duct, it is elongated tubes whose walls are almost completely made of alveoli. Very little connective tissue, surrounded by smooth muscle rings. Conducted air deeper into lung, and they are also significant role in gas exchange due to many alveoli. The third one, if you can see in the figure, is alveolar sacs. They are cluster of multiple alveoli sharing a common space. It looks like a bunch of grapes. Their function is to maximize surface area for gas exchange. The fourth one is alveoli. This is the most important part. Its histological, it has a type 1 pneumocyte, which is simple squamous cells and extremely thin, about 95% of surface, and also specialized for gas diffusion. The type 2 pneumocyte, it's cuboidal cells. It produces surfactant, prevent collapse. And then we have blood-air barrier. Also, if you can see in the figure, this is where oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. And capillary network, it's made up of a dense network surrounding alveoli. It contains red blood cells. The respiratory system consists of four main layers. We have the mucosa. This is the first layer that touches air. It has two parts. Epithelium, which called pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. As we said before, most of the respiratory system is made up of pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. It contains cilia They are tiny hair-like structures that beat upward. And goblet cell, which produce mucus. The function is to trap dust, bacteria, and particles. And cilia move mucus upward. The second part, lamina propria. It is made up of loose connective tissue under the epithelium. It contains blood vessels and immune cells. They support epithelium and help in defense. The second one is submucosa, a supportive layer under mucosa. It contains loose connective tissue and glands. And then we have the cartilage and or muscle layer. It gives structure to the airway. As you can see in this slide, it's a hyaline cartilage. The function is to keep airway open and allow air to move easily. Then the outer layer we have adventitia. This is the most outer layer which contains fibroelastic connective tissue, blood vessels and nerves, neurovascular structure. Now if we look at the nasal cavity, we have the respiratory epithelium and this is the top layer. If you can see in the figure, it's made up of pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. Contains cilia and goblet cell, like the other in the previous slide. And then we have the lamina propria just under the epithelium. It's a loose connective tissue layer contains blood vessels, immune cells, and glands. Nasopharynx. The nasopharynx is the upper part of the pharynx. It connects nasal cavity to lower airway, larynx. Layer of the nasopharynx, just like other respiratory parts, it has 4 layers. Mucosa, this is the inner lining. It has epithelium, like the other. It also have a pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, contains cilia and goblet cells, lamina propria, loose connective tissue under the epithelium, and then submucosa, a supporting layer. It contains loose connective tissue, blood vessels, and sometimes glands. And the third layer is muscle cell or skeletal cell. This is important because it's a type of skeletal voluntary muscle. The function is helping swallowing, opening, closing passage during breathing. Unlike lower respiratory tract, which has smooth muscles. And the outermost layer is adventitia. It contains fibroelastic connective tissue. Its function is to anchor the nasopharynx to surrounding structure. And then we have the cross section of trachea. Layers of the trachea from lumen to outward. We have mucosa, epithelium, like the others. It's also pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells, and ciliated cell was basal cells, which is made up of stem cells. This form the mucociliary escalator. And then we have the lamina propria, loose connective tissue. It is rich in elastic fibers, blood vessels, and immune cells. And then submucosa, dense irregular connective tissue. It's kind of different. It has a irregular connective tissue. Contains mucous glands. Its function is to moisten air. And then cartilage. We have the cartilage is a hyaline cartilage ring. It's a C-shaped, incompletely posteriorly. Maintain air patency. This is the most diagnostic feature of trachea. Trachealis muscle, smooth muscle connecting the opening end of cartilage posteriorly, adjacent to the esophagus. And the outer layer is also adventitia like the others, but it's made up of connective tissue layer, contains blood vessels and nerves. And then bronchi. Bronchs are intrapulmonary conducting airways that branches from the trachea and enter the lungs. They retain the same basic layers but with important modification. Layer of bronchial walls from lumen to outward. It's also mucosa epithelium. It's made up of pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cell. Same as trachea, but height of epithelium gradually decreases as bronchi get smaller. Goblet cells reduce distally. And then the lamina propria is loose connective tissue, contains elastic fibers and immune cells. And then we have the small muscle layer, well developed circular spiral smooth muscle. Key differences: it's a in bronchi muscle form a continuous layer. The function is to control airway diameter. And the third one is submucosa. It contains stereomucous gland, similar to trachea but less abundant distally. The fourth is most important one is cartilage. The structure is a regular cartilage plate, not C-shaped. It is a regular cartilage plate. And then we have the adventitia, which made up of connective tissue blending with lung parenchyma, contains vessels and nerves. And in the last we have lungs. The lungs are spongy organs composed of a branching system of airway ending in alveoli, where gas exchange occurs. Inside the lung, we are going to find a progressive change conducting portion, and we have the respiratory portion. The conducting portion is trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles, which air conduction only. The respiratory portion, we have the respiratory bronchioles, alveolar duct, and alveoli, which are used for gas exchange. Uh, as you can see, the airway, they are epithelium, and also the trachea is pseudostratified ciliate. Alveolar are simple squamous. Then the goblet cells are present, cartilage, smooth muscle also. The function is conducting in proximal trachea, and alveolar are used for gas exchange. The alveoli, it's thin-walled air sacs surrounded by dense capillary network. In the cell types, we have two types. Type 1 pneumocytes, which is simple squamous, and type 2 pneumocytes are cuboidal. The alveolar macrophages are used in defense. They remove dust and pathogens. Then we have blood-air barrier. This is the most critical, and in type 1 pneumocyte, fused basement membrane and capillary endothelium. It's extremely thin. And then we have the outer covering, which is a pleura. It is simple squamous mesothelium, underlying connective tissue. Their type, we have two types. We have the visceral pleura and we have parietal pleura. The visceral, which covers the lung, and parietal line chest wall. Between them, pleural cavity with fluid. It reduces friction. And then we have epithelial transition in the respiratory tract. As air moves from the upper airway to the alveoli, the epithelium becomes thinner, simpler, and more specialized for diffusion. We have the proximal airway. This structure is trachea and bronchiole. Their epithelium is pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelia with goblet cell. Almost all the respiratory system, if you can see, It is pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, and it's very important. Then bronchioles, which is simple ciliated columnar with simple cuboidal. And respiratory bronchioles, we have simple cuboidal partially ciliated, whilst interrupted by alveoli. And alveolar duct and alveoli, they are simple squamous epithelium as well, and they are specialized for rapid gas diffusion.